Welcome back to the Anything and Everything Show. I'm here with Tom Rice, who they call TC. Tell us a little bit about the scenarios that we got going on here with the kids.
All right. Kids come in, they grab a cup at the party room. This directs them to their particular scenario. They come into the ER presenting with different scenarios. Drinking, drugs, pregnancy, results of bad choices. Worst case scenario, their choices lead to death. Best case scenario, their choices lead to us fixing them and hopefully putting them on a right track.
Tom, how long have you been involved with Parkview and doing trauma center? Is that what you do? How long have you been involved in that?
I've been at Parkview for 6 years. I work in the ER. This is our second year on this event, and we are tickled. We love this. This is a great way for us at Parkview to give back to the community.
In the last 6 years, how often do you see kids with some of these scenarios come in?
All too often. All too often. Unfortunately, to the worst case scenario, we have seen many children die as a result of bad choices. More often than not, they're going home with their families.
So what's the hardest part about your job? Do you ever have to be the one to go tell the parents in the quiet room when something drastic's happened?
I personally don't have to do that. That's usually our doctor's job. The doctors usually handle that. I have had to be a part of the consoling of family members, but typically the doctors handle that.
So this is definitely something that's realistic. Sometimes people have a misconception. It doesn't happen in small towns as much. You know, tell us a little thing. If you have any information to give the public out there or what they don't think, or maybe something that they're not sure if it happens in Pueblo, what's the craziest scenario or something you could tell us?
First, the first piece of advice I can get is for parents to talk to their kids. All right, this does happen. It is a reality. Children do die as a result of bad choices. Kids hear about parties at their friends' houses. Sounds good at the moment and ends up not being so good. So parents, talk to your kids.
What about a reverse? How often do you see the parents in there on drugs and alcohol?
We see that very often. Parents make bad choices too. Unfortunately, that's a reality. They oftentimes end up requiring education, counseling, much like their children or children do.
Okay, thank you very much, TC.
Thank you.
All right, I'm here with Jimmy Taylor. Jimmy works for St. Mary Corwin. Tell us what your title is again.
I'm the Trauma Program Manager.
So what are you guys doing here at Teen Maze? What do you guys got going on?
We just try to talk to the kids related to their scenarios about, what kind of things will happen to them in the ER, kind of long-term health consequences that go along with these scenarios, whether it's drinking or drugs or teen pregnancy, whatever they're presented with.
So how long you been in there in the trauma center at St. Mary Corwin?
I've been there about a little over a year now.
Okay, so what are some of the scenarios that you see for real that go along with the scenarios? Pretty much the same?
Right, yeah, and as part of the organizing committee, we tried to take situations that we see in this community and other communities where we've had some farm party issues, well publicized. We've had we always have teen drinking and driving. So those, if you just take those two things, a big thing at St. Mary Corwin is traumatic brain injury. So we try to push traumatic brain. That's such a devastating injury, and it affects young people disproportionately.
We in other shows that we've done, we've talked to some people that ran the emergency rooms, and they say they have things like kids pushing their friends out of the car and just dropping them off at the emergency room doors so they don't get in trouble. Have you guys had anything like that?
I don't remember that specifically, but yeah, in my career I've had a number of times kids fell off of, car surfing, stupid things like that, to just make you think, what was anybody thinking? And anybody could have intervened in that situation and stopped it, but they didn't think it was a great idea, I guess.
So if you have any advice to kids, what would be the advice that you have to give them and the parents?
For the parents, that's tough because a lot of times, teenagers, especially out of your control, they're out of your sight. With kids, just stop and think. You know, think what the consequences are. That's not something a 15-year-old does, 16-year-old does. You know, they don't stop and think. They think they're 10-foot tall and bulletproof. But just stop and think before you do something.
Real quick, what's the most common thing that you see over there?
Probably drinking related, alcohol related, and that's not just there. That's probably all across the country.
Alcohol poisoning.
Poisoning, you know, drinking and driving, you know, fights, assaults related to alcohol, you know, all kinds of things. But a lot of times you can come back to alcohol. I think alcohol even more than other drugs.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy.